All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It's July 30th. Getting into the end of the month here. Last trading day of the month tomorrow. NQ, we did see one of the first trend days lower in quite some time. Nice sell off yesterday. Trend day lower. Definitely felt to me like more of a move than it actually was. About a quarter of 1%, 0.25% of a move yesterday, and still less than one ATR. Did not even put in a one ATR move. I think it was like 93%, something along those lines. Let me double check the notes from yesterday afternoon. Yeah, it was a 93% ATR move yesterday. So almost a complete ATR, but still not quite there. Definitely felt like, at least to me, quite a bit more. Now the question is, this is where it starts to get interesting because we still have the trend higher intact. However, we do have quite a bearish daily time frame bar. Now, if that daily time frame bar can show some continuation down through yesterday's low, which is the 23,425 level of interest, I'll be looking at a move into 23,320 and 23,222. So basically, if this low right here fails, we can watch for some action down into this area, potentially even down into this area, putting price back within that previous near term range. As of right now, this is still, even on the 1 hour, this is still for the most part a series of just higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Yesterday, get a retest of that most recent low, Monday's low. Now we have the bounce during the overnight session coming into 23,520. What I'm going to be looking at off of the open here and into FOMC is how price really responds to this 520 area. Our sellers going to be able to roll this thing over and give us a retest down into 23,425 prior day low, or buyers going to defend last week's high and the current weekly volume point of control with a push up and through 520, potentially retesting 585, maybe even the all-time high. We do want to keep an eye on yesterday. Let's see that fib sell zone. So the 50% fib from yesterday's sell is right there at 537. That'll be a noteworthy reference point there, that fib sell zone. As always, pre-FOMC action tends to be a little bit slower. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on volume this morning. Last month, the last FOMC we had was still less than a 1% move, and price actually was an inside day. If you go back and look at last FOMC, it was an inside day. So it could not even break the previous day's range. So FOMC past couple of years has been much slower than what it once was years and years ago. Now that day we actually get a rate cut. You may see some actual movement then, but the expectation for today is rates unchanged. Now with FOMC, most of the action occurs with Powell's presser. So it's just something to keep in mind around that 230 mark. You can expect some volatility. We're getting into the open here. Let's take a look at the intraday session volume point of control right there at 482. Price is just sitting on that last week high, that 23,476, with the prior day volume point of control right here at 479 as well. So let's see this open. There's the open right back into last week's high. Overnight high is at 522. It's in alignment with that 520 reference point. And your overnight low is 449. Good volume off the open. We love to see that. We did have ADP data this morning as well as GDP, pretty much both prints. We're a nothing burger. We do have a 10 a.m. print pending home sales at 10 a.m. And then, of course, FOMC today. Tomorrow's PCE, Friday's NFP. New low of day there on NQ. Down beneath last week's high, that 475. Very small overnight gap is about to be filled here. There it is, completely filled. And NQ getting into the overnight low, 449. From there, it's just your prior day low. Just the PDL and the 425 level of interest after that. So we're getting more higher time frame showing more proof about that rollover idea here. Little bounce there from the overnight low. NQ back into last week's high. NQ new high of day there from the overnight low. Let's see this 520. I want to see that 520 reaction. Yeah, it was a nice bounce from overnight low. Prior day close spot, a little gap fill. You can see that 520 here on the prior day structure, all the resistance. Monday session as well. Staying patient this morning. NQ so far, you have a bounce versus the overnight low. Situation like that, I like a little undercut there. So still cash on the morning. That pre FOMC action used to be some of my worst performing days. So these days, I make sure I'm real cautious, staying patient, making sure I have a true high quality setup, not forcing anything. Volume down into 50% of the average already. Yesterday ended up actually being really nice volume. Some good RVol in some of those spots there yesterday. NQ getting back into the highs here. Little hold there of the session volume point of control and VWAP. No new high of day made just yet. Still cash on my end. About 15 minutes into the sesh here, opening 15-minute bar currently shaped like a doji. A little barcode on the 1 minute. All right, back in a session highs here. See if we get the new high of day. The new high. There's a 510. There it is, new high of day. By a tick or two. Still below average volume. What we really want to see is how that 520 is going to be treated. Coming into 520, coming into overnight high. That's the complete range of the overnight session. 450 into 520. A whopping 70 points. There's NQ through that overnight high. A little blip above so far. Seller's begging for an upthrust right there. Good uptick in volume on that break of the overnight high. There you go. Up thrusters smiling right now. Any takers on that? It's like a perfect overnight high up thrust. Heck yeah, Dave. Nice work. And Q back into that session volume point of control. 10 minutes till 10 a.m. We do have a data print at 10. And Q getting back into last week's high here, 475. Just trading within that overnight range. So far you have the nice bounce versus overnight low, prior day close, and then the up thrust at the overnight high. I like the up thrust better, but I don't short. So no position for me there. Still cash on the morning. I'm just chilling. We have 7 minutes till 10 a.m. Pending home sales at 10 a.m. Nice, Gabe. So far, that's been play of the morning right there. That up thrust. In the middle of the range, yes, sir, D-Wall. We have data at 10 a.m. So let's see. Let's see. You have ES sitting on session low. A little divergence there from Nasdaq. A little more low volume barcode here on the 1 minute. NQ just right here. Session volume point of control. Last week's high right there at 475. See if the lows trade here. Let's get an update on that higher time frame. 30-minute candle showing a big doji so far. Some indecision. Yeah, it's nice to have levels of interest. I'm with you on that. RTY session highs, testing the overnight high. Ninety seconds still data at this point. Just waiting. Still cash on the morning. All right, let's see this data print, see if it brings any volume in. It's more of a minor print, so not expecting much. There's 10 a.m. for you. 30-minute does close as a doji. Snoozer. Snoozer. Let's see this 5-minute closure. Inching towards that session low. The inchworm. 10 a.m.'s gone, D-Wall. Don't even need to worry about it now. ES sitting on the lows again. Back in a VWAP. NASDAQ. NQ just steady in this little intraday range here, overnight range as well. 450 by 520. Volume below average. It's just chop in range bound, Chrissy. Don't need to read too much into it. NQ right back in a session volume point of control. Very tight action here. Typical, very typical pre FOMC. Just staying patient on my end. Still a cash morning. Cash morning. So far, we've had two B or B plus quality setups. So if you were involved near the overnight low or overnight high, well done. Looks like that range may even be compressing here. I mean, look at this. Compression. Little compression. Let's take a look at the S&P. It's even tighter. That one's even tighter. Wow. Let's check out the Russell. Wow, that volume's terrible. Jeez. And Q back in a VWAP, although VWAP doesn't really matter with this sort of action. Yeah, D-Wall, that might be the move. That might be the move. I'll probably give it 15 more minutes. Done for now, Gabe. Solid work this morning, man. Think you nailed the best trade of the morning so far, so well done. Keeping an eye on this 5-minute here. Just sitting on last week's high and the prior day volume point of control. All right, Dave, take care, man. It's good to see. Love to see everyone shutting it down early when it's slow. Pre FOMC slowness. We'll give it another 13, 14 minutes. See if we get something. A little push out of this range. Getting back into that 23,500. Very slight uptick in volume. RTY up through overnight high. ES getting back into session highs. See if NQ wakes up a little bit with a push through the 23,500. Bumping up against 23,500. Let's see if we get a little push here. ES made a session high. So NQ kind of lagging now. NQ lagging behind. There you go. Nice little lift. Grabbed a little long earlier there down near the structure low. Last week high. Session volume point of control area. See if we can ride this thing up into 520 and beyond. This is a B plus quality trade idea there. Not A or A plus. Right there here, looking at the hold of some intraday support with your last week high as a reference point, prior day volume point of control, and then the current session volume point of control. What I really liked on that particular trade idea was the shape of the 5 minute. This to me looks like it wants to kind of curl higher. And so you pair that with the decent location. I wouldn't say great location, no level of interest, right? But some decent location there. I'll trail just beneath 500 on the runners. Wow, ES up into overnight high. All right, my target was 520, so I'm going to trail a little bit tighter. And instead of taking this entire play off, I'll just work with the trail, see if we get the break. If I end up having to give back 10 points, that's all right. And that would be the difference between trailing at 510 and just taking it off at 520, which was my target. Tom, you got a piece of that? Nice work. So a little rejection there at the overnight high again and may get trailed. Runners with trail at 510. Tom, same. 509.25. There it is. Trailed out. There's the execution. It was all right. Nothing to write home about. Gave back 10 points, looking for a little bit more. It's part of the game. Part of the game. That'll probably be a one and done this morning, honestly. So again, the idea on that trade, we have the intraday structure right through there. Sellers really unable to flush this 468 area and revisit the session low. And so once price reclaimed that last week high with prior day volume point of control, which I like as a reference point, and then again, the shape of the 5 minute here looked worthwhile for a long stop down through this low right there here, and then initially targeting structure high with potential for additional upside. So that was the idea. There's the execution. Let's see the next 5, 6 minutes, this next 30-minute bar. Let me clean up this chart. Daily goal, nicely done. Wow. Nicely done, Tom. $520 is still the main level to watch here on NASDAQ. And a rejection there at overnight high. And the 520 reference point again. ES with an upthrust to the overnight high. Yeah, it's probably the range for this morning, to be honest. It's probably it right there. 522 by 450. I want to see this next 30-minute candle open. Then we'll likely call it after that. See that little burst of action with the new 30-minute bar? That's why I like to watch those 30-minute candle open. Get a little flurry of activity right there. NQ back in a 520. See if we get the new high of day. See the uptick in volume that aligns perfectly with the 10:30 a.m. candle opening. ES new high of day. There's NQ new high of day. And right back into the range. All right, that's a good time to call. I'm going to call right there. One and done on the morning. I'll definitely be watching FOMC, see if we get some opportunities with the Powell presser. Mostly interested in 2:30 p.m. once he starts to speak. The rate decision itself probably won't have anything worthwhile typically. Once the press conference begins, that's typically when you'll see more action once he starts to speak. This is a slow morning, but we had a couple of decent opportunities, B plus quality opportunities, so we'll take it. Don't want to push my luck here into late morning. I suspect it's going to slow down even more ahead of FOMC. So hope you guys had a good morning. We'll keep it going in the Traders Think Tank, like I said. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day, folks.